Toast to the slave ships, carried on the pie. Judas got it in the dark, but Jah was by our side. Lost name, lost face, lost history in the night. Now the scrolls are opening, we're stepping in the light.
Before the foundations of the earth were set, a story was written. A story of a people chosen, scattered, hidden, and restored. This is not myth. This is not imagination. This is prophecy unfolding across generations. From the beginning, Yahuah wrote a people into the script of history. A people marked for covenant, yet destined to walk through captivity. Every promise, every warning, every oath he spoke over them still echoes in time. In the ancient lands of Yahshar'el, scribes wrote warnings and promises, words carved in fire and sealed in covenant. Identity was never lost by accident. It was written that it would be hidden. From the days of Moshe to the days of the prophets, from scroll to scroll, Yahuah revealed that his people would fall, but they would also rise. What we see today is prophecy unfolding right on schedule. Devarim, Deuteronomy, declared, Yahuah shall scatter you among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. This was not vague poetry. It was a sentence spoken over a disobedient nation in a key for the last days. The scattering was not random. It was judgment and preservation. Tehillim, Psalm 83 reveals a conspiracy among nations, pulls back the curtain. Nations, plotting in secret, taking counsel together against Yahuah's people. It reveals not just exile, but a conspiracy to erase them from memory. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, so the name of Yahshar'el will be remembered no more. This was not history alone. It was strategy. From the deserts of the Middle East to the forests of West Africa, to the islands of the Caribbean, to the plantations of the Americas, Yahshar'el would be everywhere, yet recognized nowhere. Across Africa, the echoes of ancient Israel remained. Among the Igbo, Ashanti, Lemba, and Yoruba, their customs guarded it, their prayers spoke it, their names hinted at it, their traditions preserved it. The memory of Yahshar'el was woven into the everyday life of African peoples, long before the slave ships appeared. But as empires rose, the identity of Yah's people became dangerous. Dangerous power. Dangerous to empire. Dangerous to every narrative that crowned certain nations chosen and left the true chosen in chains. And so began the great erasing. Babylon struck first, changing names and suppressing customs. Then Greece rose and Hellenization became a weapon. Hebrew customs were outlawed. Circumcision was banned. Torah reading was forbidden. Scrolls were burned to remove Torah from the memory of the people. Finally, Rome shattered Jerusalem. In 70 CE, the temple burned, and with its fall, Yahshar'el was scattered once more. Millions were killed or sold into slavery. The survivors fled into Africa, Arabia, and beyond, carrying the covenant into foreign lands. Each empire carried the same agenda. Silence Israel, scrolls burned, histories edited, images repainted. Not to destroy Yahshar'el completely, but to hide them in plain sight. From Jerusalem into Africa, the diaspora expanded. Hebrew families and clans took root. They built lives in new kingdoms. Through deserts, kingdoms, and coastlines, they carried fragments of truth. And windswept coastlines, they carried fragments of truth, but the world did not see them. Not yet. Colonial scribes recorded them as tribes, as natives, as Africans, but not as Yahshar'el. What began with ancient empires would grow into the greatest identity burial in history. Not just the loss of a land, but the burying of a name, a face, a story, across waters, into chains, into a new captivity, into chains, into a new. Mitzrayim, a new Egypt in the west, a captivity unlike anything before. Before the ships appeared on the horizon, these were not a lost people. They were farmers, priests, warriors, musicians, scholars, kings, and mothers who remembered the stories of their fathers and kept in ancient Yahshar'el. They were a people of memory, covenant, living and thriving across Africa. They thrived, not because the world acknowledged them. Their customs, prayers, and lineage carried echoes of ancient Israel. Though scattered from their homelands centuries earlier, they remained tied to it by spirit and memory. They walked as a people who, unknowingly, still carried the covenant. Devarim, Deuteronomy 28, spoke long before empires rose. The scattering of Yahshar'el would widen, stretching beyond deserts and kingdoms into waters deep and wide. The scattering would continue, and a darker captivity was approaching. From the Ivory Coast to Zimbabwe, tribes carried marks of Hebrew heritage. Clan symbols resembled ancient Israelite motifs. Legal systems paralleled Mosaic structures. The Limba, with priestly lineage, preserved practices of circumcision, dietary purity, and endogamy, holding secrets of ancestry passed from father to son. The Igbo, with ancient laws, earning them the title Hebrews of West Africa by early observers. The Ashanti, with symbols adorned with golden symbols echoing those linked to the reign of King Shlomo Solomon. European scholars saw these signs but minimized them. Their silence was strategic, not innocent. Empires cannot allow the oppressed to claim divine identity. As Europe expanded, merchant nations united around a single profitable venture: human souls. The trade was not merely economic, it was spiritual warfare, stealing the very image bearers of Yahuah to deform their destiny. Portuguese, Spanish, British, French, and Dutch crowns built coastal forts along Africa's shores. These forts functioned as gateways of sorrow, where identities were crushed, families separated, and human dignity erased. Ledgers replaced humanity, numbers replaced names, gold replaced compassion. The slave trade hardened hearts and reshaped the world into an empire of profit built upon the suffering of Yahshar'el. And then the world changed forever. The arrival of these ships marked the beginning of one of the darkest chapters in human history. Families were torn apart, nations emptied, mothers cried for children taken from them. The cries of mothers rose to Shemayim, heaven, echoing the same sorrow once heard in ancient Mitzrayim when Yahshar'el groaned under oppression. The covenant people, scattered again, now shackled by those who feared their calling. Yet even in their bondage, the mark of Yahuah remained upon them, invisible to empires, but unerasable to heaven. Slavery was not only chains, it was psychological warfare. Captivity targeted their identity, heritage, and hope. Strip a people of their name, and you strip them of their destiny. Slaveholders understood that if Yahshar'el forgot their names, they would also forget their power. Captors severed every link to Israel, so the scattered tribes would forget who they were. They stripped identity not by accident but by design, hoping to erase the memory of the God, Yahuah, who once delivered his people from Mitzrayim. On the Middle Passage, the waters of the Atlantic became a graveyard. Bodies were thrown overboard. Prayers were silenced beneath the roar of the sea. Futures were extinguished before they began. Yet Yahuah heard every cry. Thousands perished, their cries swallowed by the waves. These were the dry bones Ezekiel spoke of, a people cut off, forgotten, without hope. When they reached the so-called New World, the captives, descendants of Yahshar'el, emerged into a bondage far more calculated and cruel than the captivities of Babylon, Greece, or Rome. Auction blocks replaced altars. Plantations replaced promised lands. But instead of inheritance, they met oppression. Yet even in chains, the covenant spark refused to die. The spark glowed faintly but faithfully, waiting for the breath of prophecy to fan it into flame. The world called them slaves, stripping them of dignity and name. But in Shemayim, heaven, they were still called Yahshar'el. Long before modern politics or Hollywood, a quiet transformation began. It did not happen in a single stroke, but unfolded over centuries, layer upon layer, until the truth lay buried beneath narratives crafted for power. A transformation not of nations, but of identity itself. By altering the perceived image of Yahshar'el, empires could manipulate theology, politics, and culture for their own advantage. After the true Hebrews were scattered, conquered, and enslaved, a great rewriting took shape, one that would redefine who the Hebrews were in the imagination of nations. A reshaping of how the world would see Israel, not through truth, but through empire. The world was taught to see Yahshar'el through a distorted mirror crafted in royal courts and church councils. During the Renaissance, artists painted biblical figures in their own European image. Art became a silent teacher, convincing the world that biblical heritage belonged to Europe. Abraham became European. Moses became European. By altering the appearance of the patriarchs, empire distanced the people of Scripture from the people living in Africa and the diaspora. Even Yahusha, the Hebrew Messiah, was given pale skin and light eyes. But Yahusha himself warned of deception, and prophecy foretold false images. A world that sees a European Messiah will never look for his people among the oppressed. This misdirection was strategic. It not only elevated Europe as spiritual heir, but made the true people invisible. This was not accidental. It was crafted through art, culture, and power. Over time, the manufactured image of Yahshar'el overshadowed the real people living out the prophecies. European Jews, Ashkenazi and Sephardi, preserved Torah with devotion. Their devotion is acknowledged, but lineage and covenant bloodline are matters of prophecy, geography, and ancestry rooted in Yahshar'el's original exiles. But their lineage was shaped by exile, conversion, and centuries of migration. Europe, rather than Africa, influenced heavily by waves of conversion, diaspora movements, and cultural assimilation. They guarded traditions, but they were not the scattered tribes of ancient Israel. Prophecy concerning Yahshar'el, their appearance, suffering, curses, and awakening, aligns with the people scattered through Africa and the diaspora, not with European Jewry. They inherited the faith of Israel, but not the bloodline chosen in ancient days. The distinction between faith and lineage is crucial to understanding end-time prophecy and the awakening of the true Yahshar'el. Identity is not only faith, it is lineage, it is prophecy. Their identity is confirmed through the curses of Devarim, Deuteronomy 28, their dispersion into Africa. Western scholars rejected Africans who practice Hebrew customs. When confronted with undeniable parallels, circumcision, ritual purity, monotheism, dietary separation, anthropologists ignored evidence of Israelite traditions across African tribes. They categorized cultural parallels as coincidence, diffusion, or imitation, rather than encoded memory. Pseudoscience was used to decide who could or could not be Israel. This science was not science at all. It was propaganda dressed in academic attire, designed to uphold slavery. Maps, textbooks, and museums pointed the world away from the true descendants. Entire generations were taught a false visual narrative. Europe needed a version of Israel that aligned with its power. A European Yahshar'el justified dominion, colonization, and the spiritual hierarchy they crafted. A version safe for empire, strengthening political and religious control. It reinforced religious authority by placing church institutions as spiritual heirs. Christianity reshaped identity, declaring the church as the new Israel. It reframed covenant as belonging to an organization rather than a people. The covenant no longer tied to a people, but to an institution. What Yahuah originally established with the descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob was gradually rebranded. The true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were pushed into deeper silence. The world saw them as the bottom of society, but Yahuah saw them as the root of prophecy. Their history removed, their image replaced, their story rewritten. This rewriting was so effective that even Yahshar'el began to doubt themselves. 3. From Babylon to Rome, identity was buried layer by layer. At every stage, the true story of Yahshar'el sank deeper beneath the surface, like a treasure covered by centuries of dust. Prophecy cannot be erased. Truth cannot be silenced. No decree of empire, no painting, no textbook, no doctrine of replacement theology can erase what Yahuah has spoken. A people chosen by Yahuah cannot remain hidden forever, but Yahshar'el carried the covenant in their DNA, in their suffering. The journey continues into the empires that buried truth and into the greatest captivity of all, the crossing of the waters. Empires of silence. They buried truth beneath dogma, buried identity beneath imagery, and obscured prophecy beneath synthetic doctrine. From the beginning of time, a pattern echoed across the nations. Empires rose: Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. This captivity fulfilled prophecies spoken by Moshe and echoed by Yahshar'el, Ezekiel, describing a dispersion marked by ships, chains, and forced labor. Each empire touched the people of Yahuah. Each one left scars upon Israel's identity. Through this silence, Yahshar'el became invisible to the world, but never invisible to Yahuah. Every empire followed the same strategy: suppress the truth, scatter the people. Yet suppression always fails in the end, for Yahuah himself preserves truth for its appointed time. Silence the identity, rewrite the story. History repeated itself again and again. By silencing identity, they reshaped destiny, at least for a time. Babylon delivered the first great strike against Israel's identity. Babylon believed it succeeded, but prophecy reveals that Yahuah preserved a remnant who would carry identity through the generations. Families were marched away in chains, carried into a foreign land. Their names were replaced with Babylonian titles. Losing a name is losing a piece of self. Yet, their language was pressured, their culture reshaped. Identity was attacked from the inside out. But identity rooted in divine covenant cannot be fully erased. Even altered language carries shadows of original meaning. Yet even in captivity, Yahuah preserved a remnant, a people who whispered his name in the shadows. It is the remnant that carries the story forward, ensuring the promise survives every storm. When Greece conquered, the assault intensified, yet the faithful resisted, preserving Torah pure practices in hiding and passing identity to future generations through whispered teachings. Hebrew customs outlawed, circumcision banned, Torah reading forbidden. But even in threat of death, many Hebrews risked everything to keep Torah alive. Scrolls burned under threat of death. Yet no fire on earth can destroy a prophecy spoken by Yahuah. Destroy the memory, break the covenant people from within. This psychological assault was perhaps the most dangerous weapon ever wielded against them. Then Rome came, the mightiest empire of them all. Rome's might appear absolute, but even Rome unknowingly fulfilled prophecy, setting the stage for Yahshar'el's dispersion into Africa, Arabia, and eventually the entire world. In 70 CE, Jerusalem burned. The temple was destroyed. Millions were killed or scattered. Yahuah does not reside in temples made with hands. The true temple is his people, and though scattered, they remain the carriers of covenant. Survivors fled into Africa, Arabia, and beyond. The great diaspora began. These migrations explain why so many African tribes bear traditions mirroring Torah, why names and stories survive in unexpected places, and why the geography of prophecy points to Africa as a stronghold of Yahshar'el. Rome scattered the house of Israel across continents. Identity became buried beneath exile. Yet buried identity is not destroyed identity. It is identity waiting to be revealed. Baruch's prophecy awakens in their hearts. Baruch, Baruch 2:30 declared that in the land of their captivities, Yahshar'el would remember themselves. And this prophecy began to stir like a distant drumbeat in the hearts of the oppressed. A whisper becomes a declaration. We are Yahshar'el. Their awakening fulfilled prophecy and defied the false identities forced upon them. Old songs return in dreams. Melodies carried across oceans and generations began resurfacing in the hearts of Yahshar'el's descendants. Ancient customs return in families. Through these quiet practices, Yahuah gently guided his people back to covenant living, planting seeds of restoration in the heart of the home. The covenant stirs, stronger than the chains that hid it, but covenant binds the soul, and no empire can sever what Yahuah has established. Hearts repent, souls awaken, eyes open. This spiritual shift marked the beginning of transformation, not just for individuals, but for families, communities, and the entire scattered nation. This awakening is not rebellion, it is prophecy. Awakening is obedience. It is the breath of Yahuah entering dry bones once again. As breath enters bone, despair becomes strength and confusion becomes clarity. Strength returns where there was despair. This strength was not political or military, it was spiritual, flowing from Yahuah's promise to restore his people. Identity returns where there was confusion. Yahshar'el begins to walk in clarity, seeing themselves not as the lowest among nations, but as the people chosen to reveal Yahuah's righteousness. Families restore their names. Names became declarations. We remember who we are. Communities return to covenant. This return marks the restoration of Yahshar'el as a nation, not merely scattered individuals. The awakening spreads, and no nation can stop it. The world begins to notice, and the world begins to fear. For the rise of the true Hebrews shakes every false foundation. Prophecy in Ezekiel unfolds. Bone to bone, identity to identity. The scattered become gathered in truth and understanding. The forgotten become remembered by the hand of Yahuah. The oppressed rise in the knowledge of who they are. The awakening becomes global, and the remnant stands firm. The world asks, what happens next? The answer is simple. Restoration. The rise of Yahshar'el cannot be delayed any longer. Though nations conspired against them, the covenant was never broken. Yahuah never abandoned his people, even when the world forgot them. Every prophecy spoken, every promise declared, still stands. Across generations, Yahuah preserved a remnant, a whisper of identity, a spark of remembrance. Hidden in the soul of a scattered people, they belong to someone greater than every empire that oppressed them. And now, in the appointed time, the awakening spreads across the earth. From America to Brazil, from the Caribbean to West Africa, the truth returns. Identity is rising. Scripture is opening. The dry bones are standing. The nations tremble, for the rejected ones are remembering who they are. The same people they enslaved, the same people they oppressed, are rising with revelation. History can no longer silence them. Religion can no longer deny them. Empires can no longer hide what Yahuah is now revealing. Yahuah promised, I will gather you from the nations. He promised to restore them, to renew them, to raise them again. The sticks of Judah and Ephraim are becoming one in his hand, and all shall know that Yahuah has loved his people. This awakening is not pride, it is purpose. Identity restored, that righteousness may return. Yahuah is raising his people to teach the nations once again, to reveal justice, mercy, and truth. The awakened ones are preparing the way for Yahusha, for he comes to gather his inheritance, his remnant, his covenant people. He comes for the scattered sheep who heard his voice in the darkness, the hidden ones, the forgotten ones, the chosen ones, those scattered people of Yah. Your season of silence is over. Your captivity is finished. your identity restored. Your season of silence, forced by chains, reinforced by systems, prolonged by deception, is over. Yahuah breaks the silence with revelation, identity, and awakening, calling his people to speak truth to nations. Silence ends when prophecy speaks. Finished, not when nations free you, but when identity frees you. Captivity ends the moment truth enters your soul and dismantles the lies of oppression. Restoration begins with revelation. You are Yahshar'el. Identity restores what chains destroyed. Not the names given in slavery, not the names forced upon you by colonizers, but the name written in heaven. Identity spoken by Yahuah cannot be revoked by man. His restoration is sealed by his authority. Systems may resist it, critics may deny it, and nations may fear it, but restoration remains inevitable. What Yahuah restores becomes unshakable. Rise with understanding, rise with clarity, rise with conviction. Your awakening is the sign that prophecy has reached its next phase. Rise, because Yahuah has called you for such a time as this. Prophecy, an undeniable spiritual resonance. What the world concealed, Yahuah has unveiled. Revelation ends the era of hiding forever. Prophecy challenges doctrines, redraws borders in the spirit, and confronts systems built on deceit. Awakening is divine, unstoppable, and beyond human control. Nations tremble because Yahuah is moving. This is the great resurrection of Yahshar'el's destiny, foretold by Yahshar'el. Dry bones live when Yahuah breathes. It is not new doctrine. It is ancient truth returning to its rightful people. You are living prophecy in your time, long delayed by empires, long obscured by deception, long buried in captivity, has finally come. This is your moment to rise, to remember, to return, and to walk in the destiny written for you before you were scattered. Though enslaved, colonized, and marginalized, Yahshar'el always belonged to Yahuah, the one greater than every empire that ever oppressed them. Empires claimed ownership over their bodies, but they never owned their destiny. Nations dictated laws over their lives, but they could not dictate prophecy. Even when Yahshar'el seemed to be at the mercy of human systems, they remained under the sovereignty of Yahuah, who orchestrates history for his purposes. Their identity comes from the creator, not from the oppressor. The awakening is not accidental. It is a sign that the prophetic clock has struck its next hour. The descendants of Yahshar'el scattered across these lands experience the same spiritual pull, the same stirring of identity, the same recognition that they are part of something ancient and prophetic. This global resonance is not coincidence. It is the Ruach calling Yahshar'el home to themselves. The prophecy of dry bones awakening into a great army. Their understanding deepens, their purpose sharpens, and their dignity is restored. What was once written on dry pages now becomes life in their bones. The awakening exposes lies, shaking the ideological pillars that supported slavery, colonization, and racial hierarchy. The rejected ones rise with revelation, and revelation is more powerful than revolution. Revelation breaks chains that history normalized, empowering Yahshar'el to see themselves not as broken survivors, but as prophetic overcomers. Their rise is a testimony to Yahuah's justice, faithfulness, and perfect timing. Empires enslave them, but Yahuah is now revealing them. What was denied in pulpits and classrooms is now proclaimed in living rooms and global platforms. Truth has returned, and silence has ended. When Yahuah opens a door, no man can shut it. When he exposes truth, no system can bury it again. The unveiling of Yahshar'el is a divine act, not a political movement. Empires fear this because they cannot control what Yahuah reveals. Restoration brings them back to who they once were. Renewal strengthens them for who they are becoming. Raising prepares them for their future role in the world. These promises point not to annihilation, but to resurrection. Yahshar'el rises because Yahuah ordained it from the beginning. The scattered among the nations and the remnant of the known tribes begin to unite spiritually, recognizing their shared heritage. This unity is not orchestrated by institutions, but by prophecy awakening hearts. Yahuah is bringing his nation together piece by piece, identity by identity. Their survival against impossible odds is itself a testimony of divine love. Empires may have hated them, but Yahuah never ceased to cherish them. Restoration reveals love that history tried to hide. Yahshar'el was chosen to be a light to the nations, a kingdom of priests, a representation of Yahuah's righteousness on earth. Rediscovering identity is not self-exaltation. It is returning to the assignment Yahuah gave them from the beginning. Once identity is restored, they seek Yahuah's laws, embrace holiness, and pursue covenant living. The return of righteousness is the fruit of awakened identity. What the world calls rebellion is actually alignment with divine order. This role is not new. It is a restoration of the assignment he gave them when they first stood at Mount Sinai. Their rise is not for domination, but revelation. They are the teachers of Torah to the world, and their awakening signals that global instruction is near. Their identity is the vessel through which these divine attributes will shine in the last days. Without Yahshar'el awakened, the world cannot fully understand the righteousness of Yahuah. Remember, your awakening is a sign that prophecy has reached its next phase. Rise, because Yahuah has called you for such a time as this. What the world concealed, Yahuah has unveiled. Revelation ends the era of hiding forever. Prophecy challenges doctrines, redraws borders in the spirit, and confronts systems built on deceit. Awakening is divine, unstoppable, and beyond human control. Nations tremble because Yahuah is moving. This is the great resurrection of Yahshar'el's destiny foretold by Yahuah. Dry bones come alive. They live when Yahuah breathes. It is ancient truth returning to its rightful people. You are living prophecy. This is your moment to rise, to remember, to return, and to walk in the destiny written for you before you were scattered. Walk in humility, strength, and courage. Stand for Yah. Stand together. Kum Yahshar'el. Kum. Rise, people of the covenant. Rise, children of promise. Rise to truth and forever. And they have cast lots for Yah's people, and have given your boys for harlots, and sold your girls for wine, so that they could drink. You planted vineyards and dressed them, but you neither drank of the wine nor gather the grapes. The worms ate them. Now you know the truth, and the truth has made you free. In times past you were not ready. Yah always commanded his angels concerning you. They will continue to guard you in all your ways. Yah opened our eyes, that we may behold wondrous things out of his law. His people are proof that he alone, Abba Yah, opens the eyes of the blind. Rise, people of the covenant. Rise, children of promise. The world tried to hide you, but Yahuah has revealed you. The nations tremble, for prophecy has awakened. The scattered are gathered, the dry bones live. This is the restoration spoken from the beginning. You are Yahshar'el, and your time has come. Though nations conspired against them, the covenant was never broken. Yahuah never abandoned his people, but behind every earthly power, a darker force worked in silence. Oppressing their identity to maintain global hierarchy. These systems thrived on your silence. But the time of sleeping is over. Prophecy has sounded the alarm. The enemy's dominion would collapse because his authority depended on your ignorance. When you stand in truth, lies lose power. When you awaken, captivity loses its grip. Identity is your greatest weapon, and prophecy is your shield. The enemies knew awakening meant restoration, and restoration meant the end of deception. But Yahuah allowed identity to hide, so it could return at the appointed time, stronger. They belong to someone greater than every Brazil, from the Caribbean to West Africa, the truth returns. Identity is rising. Scripture is opening. The dry bones are standing. The nations tremble. For the rejected ones are remembering who they are. The same people they enslaved, the same people they oppressed, are rising with revelation. History can no longer silence them. Religion can no longer deny them. Empires can no longer hide what Yahuah is now revealing. Yahuah promised, I will gather you from the nations. He promised to restore them, to renew them, to raise them again. The sticks of Judah and Ephraim are becoming one in his hand, and all shall know that Yahuah has loved his people. This awakening is not pride, it is purpose. Identity restored, that righteousness may return. Yahuah is raising his people to teach the nations once again, to reveal justice, mercy, and truth. The awakened ones are preparing the way for Yahusha, for he comes to gather his inheritance, his remnant, his covenant people. He comes from the scattered sheep who heard his voice in the darkness, the hidden ones, the forgotten ones, the chosen ones. O scattered people of Yah, your season of silence is over. Your captivity is finished. Your identity restored. Yahuah has called you by name. You are Yahshar'el. No power in heaven or earth can erase what Yahuah has restored. Rise, people of the covenant. Rise, children of promise. The nations tremble, for prophecy has awakened. The scattered are gathered, because identity is power, and truth threatens every system built on lies. The nations feared the rise of the true Hebrews, feared their calling written in prophecy. A restored Israel means accountability, truth revealed, judgment on oppression. Yahuah declared them a chosen people, a kingdom of priests, a light to the nations. If they awaken, systems of power would crumble, and the world knew it. Empires grew wealthy through their suffering. Sugar, cotton, tobacco. Entire economies built on stolen labor. Erasing Israel was profitable. Truth will cost them everything. Identity theft was not only political, it was spiritual warfare. If the true Hebrews remembered who they were, they would rise in covenant power again. They would remember the promises, the prophecies, the inheritance written for them. So the nations hid the truth, rewrote history, and taught the world a lie. Churches preach replacement theology. Entire systems were built to keep Israel asleep. But behind every earthly power, a darker force worked in silence, seeking to destroy Yahshar'el's identity because he knew their awakening signaled his downfall. Nations were merely instruments in a deeper war for truth. Yet Yahuah's power dwarfs every scheme of darkness. Spiritual warfare swirled around their identity, targeted Yahshar'el's identity, because prophecy hinged on their awakening. If the enemy could keep them confused, deceived, or distracted, he could delay the restoration Yahuah ordained. But prophecy is fire. It burns through deception when Yahuah says, now, and now is the time. If the scattered ones rose again, the enemy's dominion would collapse. This is why their history was erased, their names changed, their identity buried. But truth cannot stay buried forever. Every lie eventually breaks. And now, across the earth, a whisper has become a roar. The hidden ones are awakening. The dry bones are shaking. Prophecy is unfolding. The world built an illusion, but Yahuah is revealing his people. For identity suppressed for centuries cannot resist the call of prophecy, and the awakening has only just begun. Across the nations, a whisper rises. Who are we, and why were we hidden? The scattered ones are searching, and the truth answers them. In America, in the islands, in Africa, the remembrance has begun. History, long buried, pours back into the open. Old traditions resurface, matching the ways of ancient Yahshar'el. A spark once silenced now spreads like wildfire. The hidden ones scattered are remembering who they are. No classroom taught them, yet the truth awakens in their spirit. No pastor confirmed it, yet prophecy opens their eyes. The world grows uneasy, for identity cannot remain concealed. As knowledge spreads, systems built on lies begin to tremble. Documentaries, books, testimonies, all pointing to one truth. The hidden ones were never lost. They were silenced. And now Yahuah stirs their remembrance. In the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. A whisper becomes a declaration. We are Yahshar'el. Old songs return in dreams. Ancient customs return in families. The covenant stirs, stronger than the chains that hid it. Hearts repent. Souls awaken. Eyes open. This awakening is not rebellion. It is prophecy. It is the breath of Yahuah entering dry bones once again. Strength returns where there was despair. Families restore their names. Communities return to covenant. The awakening spreads and no nation can stop it. For the rise of the true Hebrews shakes every false foundation. Bone to bone, identity to identity. The scattered become gathered in truth and understanding. The forgotten become remembered by the hand of Yahuah. The oppressed rise in the knowledge of who they are. The awakening becomes global, and the remnant stands firm. The world asks, what happens next? The answer is simple. Restoration. The rise of Yahshar'el cannot be delayed any longer. Though nations conspired against them, the covenant was never broken. Yahuah never abandoned his people, even when the world forgot them. Every prophecy spoken, every promise declared, still stands. Across generations, Yahuah preserved a remnant, a whisper of identity, a spark of remembrance. They belong to someone greater than every empire that oppressed them. And now, in the appointed time, the awakening spreads across the earth. From America to Brazil, from the Caribbean to West Africa, the truth returns. Identity is rising, scripture is opening, the dry bones are standing. The nations tremble because the people they labeled as inferior, expendable, or cursed are now remembering who they are, the chosen people of Yahuah. This remembrance challenges political systems, theological foundations, and cultural narratives that upheld falsehoods for centuries. For the rejected ones are remembering who they are. The same people they enslaved, the same people they oppressed, are rising with revelation. The awakening exposes lies, shaking the ideological pillars that supported slavery, colonization, and racial hierarchy. The rejected ones rise with revelation, and revelation is more powerful than revolution. History can no longer silence them. Religion can no longer deny them. Empires can no longer hide what Yahuah is now revealing. Yahuah promised, through Yahshar'el, Ezekiel 36:24, and countless other passages, I will gather you from the nations, declaring a future regathering of Yahshar'el that transcends geographic boundaries. This promise is the anchor of their awakening, the assurance that captivity was not final. Their current spiritual gathering is the precursor to a physical gathering only Yahuah can orchestrate. His promises never fail. His word always returns fulfilled. He promised to restore them, to renew them, to raise them again. The sticks of Judah and Ephraim are becoming one in his hand, and all shall know that Yahuah has loved his people. This awakening is not pride, it is purpose. Identity restored, that righteousness may return. Yahuah is raising his people to teach the nations once again, to reveal justice, mercy, and truth. The awakened ones are preparing the way for Yahusha, for he comes to gather his inheritance. He comes for the scattered sheep who heard his voice in the darkness, the hidden ones, the forgotten ones, the chosen ones. O scattered people of Yah, your season of silence is over. Your captivity is finished. Your identity restored. Yahuah has has called you by name. You are Yahshar'el. No power in heaven or earth can erase what Yahuah has restored. Rise, people of the covenant. Rise, children of promise. The world tried to hide you, but Yahuah has revealed you. The nations tremble, for prophecy has awakened. The scattered are gathered. The dry bones live. This is the restoration spoken from the beginning. You are Yahshar'el.